Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Food and Finance Show. And today I have another great guest on. And this guest comes to us from Indonesia. And when I heard his story, I thought it was amazing of just blending his love for food and his love for entrepreneurship and how he's building an awesome business. So stay tuned. Welcome to another great episode of the Food and Finance Show, where we talk about two things we know you love: great food and money. So stay tuned because we got a great show coming your way. Now, without further ado, let me bring on our guest. Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, Terrell. How are you? Great to see you again, man. Thanks for having
Absolutely,
me.
man. Absolutely. And thanks for, with this like 10, 11 hour time difference. Thank you for your
Right.
flexibility on the timing.
No worries, man. No worries.
Gotcha. Now, before we jump into, the amazing story of Food Story, tell us a little bit about, what was your background before you launched Food Story?
Okay, so yeah, I've been in tech startup scene for past 11 years. I worked for a German tech giant called Rocket Internet before, who built a lot of big tech companies in the world. And then after that, I built several startups, few succeed and few others failed. but yeah, I remember like 11 years ago, when I was in my third year in my college, my family actually got the financial crisis. So I had to work on 5 until 6 different jobs at the same
Wow.
time, at the same week. As a journalist at sports media, selling software, selling pancakes, selling food and baking supplies, and have a gig by singing at the cafe during weekends. So yeah. And when I was selling pancakes at that time and serve it by my own to customer, I make it my own the pancakes and getting their feedbacks, knowing that they love the pancakes, and that was my first love to food. And basically, I love to eat everything, literally everything, and you couldn't even find any single rice on my plate, for sure.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like such a very, a very interesting and just a resourceful, story. Because going from, like, say, while you were in the university, your family went through financial hardship with all that was going on in the economy, and then just, the 5 jobs, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It
With the
was
mixture
crazy.
of software, sales, food, as
Journalists
well as journalists, and then as well
singing
as
at
singing at
cafe.
night.
Crazy.
So now, when you were doing all those jobs, did anyone ever notice, like, hey, aren't you a salesman?
But you know what? My wife actually, she accompanied me from that lowest point until now.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
That is amazing. That is
Yeah, I'm very
amazing.
blessed. Yeah.
Mhm. Now, what did your wife say when you start explaining to her, like, hey, I'm gonna also sing on the weekend? What did she say?
She's just a fool. No. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Gotcha. So as your love for food started to develop, kind of, what were your thoughts about, like, I guess when you started developing a love for food, were you thinking like, hey, I'll start a restaurant, or like, how were you thinking you were gonna actually, really do something with your love for food?
Yeah. Because of my love on food, I always want to make my own brands, my own restaurant. But because of I was in tech scene, tech startup scene, so I spent a lot of time in the tech scene. So I forgot about my dreams for having an F&B brands. So right now, I'm very glad that I have an opportunity, such an opportunity to build my own. F&B brand. So I'm very happy for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's amazing because that's something that I hear a lot where people talk about at one point they had a dream and just by reason of different things went on in life. And so they got really focused in on something, especially like people who go into the tech scene. Like, because some people feel like, hey, once they go in the tech, they can never leave. Like, that's all they can do.
Silicon Valley life, right?
Now, what was it like going from, like I said, when you're in the tech world is kind of like a beast and it's like a nature of its own. So where when you go from the tech world into the food industry, what was it like making that switch?
So yeah, you know what? Technology is actually one thing that I really believe that can enable a food business actually. So by using technology, we can grow the food business even faster, or even scalable because of technology. Because you can use a lot of things. You can track a lot of data, for you to to make a decision based on the data, right? So I think that's the bridge between the tech and the food business, and it's very interesting actually, Terrell.
Mhm. Gotcha, gotcha. And I think that that is very true because I think there are a lot of people who are in food related businesses that are finding out, like, how much technology is really impacting, what they
Right,
do in their restaurants or what they do in any food industry.
right. No longer pen and paper like yesterday.
Mhm. Now I'm located in North Carolina in the U.S. and you're out in Indonesia. So I'm curious, has the implement or the adoption of technology in the food industry, has it moved as quickly in Indonesia as it has in other places around the world, or do you feel
Yes,
like, hey, Indonesia still has some room to grow?
of course, there always room for growth, room for improvements. But I don't know if you ever heard about like unicorns, our unicorns in Indonesia, like Gojek, Grab, Shopee, and Traveloka. Those are the tech giants who currently built such a beautiful ecosystem to help to support F&B businesses in terms of delivery, food delivery. So I think that's why this is the very perfect time for us to build a proper F&B business, F&B
Mhm.
brands, because the tech unicorns already make it very simple from the logistic
Okay.
distribution to the customers, the orders, online orders, food delivery, and so on. I think even the seamless payments.
Mhm.
So I think this is very interesting, but as you know, building an F&B business is one thing, right? But to make it sustainable, that's a challenge for us, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. So yeah, of course, in Indonesia, there is still a lot of room to grow. Terrell.
Mhm. Gotcha,
Mm.
gotcha. And that's a very interesting point you bring up because it's something that I talk to people about when it comes down to like starting a food brand or starting a restaurant where they're just thinking about their food. Where, like you said, I
Right.
mean, you got to think about, okay, how are you going to take orders? I mean, whether it's if you in the physical store, you have your POS system. If it's gonna be online, it's just like, hey, how do you actually do that? Is technology in place for that? And then also, with being able to have the food delivered, like, do you have a mechanism for that? And I think what you said is amazing with, all the technologies in place. Now it's
Yeah.
just, hey, you really building your brand and then connecting with,
Yes.
your customers. So how has that journey been for you guys of building a brand name in a somewhat crowded space when it comes to food?
Right. If you talk about F&B competitions, we're not compete with the only with the big brands, right? But we compete with all of the listings on the Grab Food or GoFood, right? So by picking the names, our strategy, we actually is a very different type of building a business between the tech business and the food business, right? Because in when it came to tech business, we can always drop to the market by using the MVP or minimum viable product of the very simple form of your product and test out to the market, getting the feedbacks, and then we iterate and we make it better and better again. But if we talk about F&B business, F&B brand, I don't think that could be happen like in the tech business, because if we talk about F&B brand, we have to make it proper from the very beginning, right? We have to think hardly about the branding from the very beginning, the strategy from the very beginning, the segment, the target market, and so on, and your positioning in the market. So, yeah, Terrell, that's the most interesting part for me to jump in this F&B business. Yeah, I still learn about it. I still learn a lot from other people. I want to learn from you as well, Terrell, about
Absolutely,
food business.
absolutely. Well, hey, I'm always willing to help share insight, and I think that's
Yeah,
so true. I mean, because when it comes down to being in the food industry, you're not just competing with the big brands. I mean, you're competing
right.
with the local brands. And I was
Yes.
telling some, I was talking with another restaurant owner, and one of the things that he and I were talking about is like, when you think about it, like share of stomach, to where it's just like you're competing with, even though you may sell food, it's like you're competing with people who make milkshakes, who make smoothies, because it's like
Yeah.
if a person drinks a smoothie, they're probably not going to
Yeah.
be hungry and want more food. So it's just like
Right.
there's so much competition.
Yeah. So that's why one of the factor is the branding, right? The name.
Mhm.
So what we did is actually we see we find the right name for our brands who can click on our top of mind in the future, in the long run,
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
represent the food itself.
Mhm. Awesome. I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the brands.
Yeah.
So what are some of the brands that your customers love and that you guys have really seen some success with?
Yeah, we have three brands right now in under Food Story. We create the in-house brand. So our business model is very simple. We are an F&B multi-brand, multi-brand F&B group. So we create, develop, and operate multi-brands now, three brands under one kitchen and under one roof. So the first one is chicken pao. Chicken pao is actually a crispy chicken with rice, or rice box with crispy chicken with Chinese style sauce, right?
Nice.
And the
Nice.
second one we have bulgogi. As you know, not only in Indonesia but across the around the world, Korean wave is getting crazy, right? And
Absolutely, it is.
yeah, so that's why we create bulgogi, from the bulgogi, but we create bulgogi. It's a big Korean beef bowl dish, and the third one is lahap chicken. Lahap chicken. As you know, in Indonesia, we are one of the biggest country with a huge numbers of Muslim citizens, right, in
Mhm.
Indonesia. So that's why the market is huge for Muslim citizens, Muslim people. So that's why we create lahap chicken. It's a Middle East or Arabian fried chicken. It's like KFC, but with the spice of Middle East spices. So that's very interesting. So
Nice, nice. I love it. I mean, and it's amazing how, like I said, you took some concepts from around the world to really,
Yes.
give what your audience wants. So now, with those three brands that you guys really focused in on, like, how did you get comfortable realizing that, hey, based on our market, hey, these are the top three we want to start with? Like, how did you guys go about the market research and getting comfortable with that?
Okay. We always combine with a long-term and short-term strategy. I mean, long-term and short-term insights. So, like fried chicken, 20 until 30 years ago until now, people eat fried chicken, right? And also beef, right? So that's why that's a long term insights that we still have to consider to make a brand. And the second one, the short term, or maybe we call it trend, market trend. Chinese food, Indonesia is very common, right?
Mhm.
And I learned a lot from Panda Express in US, right? So
Mhm.
actually, our chicken pao is inspired by Panda Express from the US. Where it's crispy
Gotcha.
chicken with maybe orange sauce
Mhm.
and in the US, but in our place we have kung pao sauce, Thai sauce, or maybe sweet and sour sauce. It's more Chinese style. So that's
Okay.
why we combine those approach. And for lahap chicken, like I told you before, we are one of the biggest country with Muslim citizens, one of most Muslim citizens in the world. So the market is very huge. So we combine fried chicken with the Arabian style spices, and also bulgogi is a very trendy, right? Korean wave. We just want to ride the wave.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love it. So if people want to keep in touch and they want to, see how Food Story is going, where can they find you guys online?
Yeah, you can find us at our website www.foodstory.id or our Instagram account foodstory.idn, and we also have each account for each brands. Like Chicken Pao, our Instagram is chickenpao.id, lahapchicken.id, and bulgogi.id. And you can also find us at GoFood, GrabFood, Shopee Food, and Traveloka.
Gotcha. I love it. I love it. Well, before we wrap up, one final question I always like to ask every guest that comes on is when you
Yeah.
think about, your journey so far and you think about all the amazing things that you've been doing, what's one piece of advice that you would share with other people who are looking to start a business in this type of industry?
Okay. The first one is giving, Taro, because I always believe in giving. I don't believe in give and take, but I believe in give and receive. So, like today, we also have a campaign, hashtag saling bantu, means in English, supporting each other, hashtag supporting each other, but in Indonesian slang. We every time people buy our food from anywhere, from any platform, we always give one free food for the bike drivers, the delivery driver, and also one vitamin for free for them. So imagine if the same person took three times until five times in our outlets, they got a lot of like three until five vitamins and food to share with the others or even with their family, right? And I think the first one always giving, and the second one, I believe in quote, where there is a will, there is a way. Because if you have a will, you always find a way. That's what I always believe in my heart, Taro. Mm.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I absolutely love it. And I want to say thank you again for coming on,
Thank you for
sharing,
having me.
the story of food story. And before we wrap up, can you repeat the website one more time for them so they can find you guys online?
Sure, www.foodstory.id.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Terrell. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.